For the 6th season in a row, Walters is the official bar of the Nats Chat podcast, located across the street from the ballpark, just off South Capitol Street.
He's worked the count full leading off this third inning. The pitch to him. Swing up, drive, deep left field. This one sending Bleday back to the warning track, looking up, and it's gone! Abimelec Ortiz homers the other way in the Reds' bullpen, and the Nationals lead it 3-1.
Right intercepts it, Anto delivers it, Chaparro lines it right center field toward the gap. That's going to get down and go to the wall. Railing third, Ruiz, he will score. Young behind him, he will score. On a two-run double to right center field for Andres Chaparro. Continues his hot inning, 2 more RBIs, and the Nationals break this one open here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Bird ready, the pitch, swing and a miss. He struck him out, and a curly W's in the books. And so is a 3-game sweep of the Cincinnati Reds, the first for the Nationals at home all year, and their second sweep, period, after sweeping the Brewers April 10th, 11th, and 12th.
And welcome to Nats Chat. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. I'm joined by Washington Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com. He is at Nationals Park. 4 wins in 5 games for the Washington Nationals now since that 7-game losing streak. A 7-1 win over the Cincinnati Reds at Nationals Park on Sunday afternoon to complete a 3-game sweep in which the Nats outscored the Reds 26. The Nats dominated this series. Very much a feel-good series for the Nats. They in MLB's 2026 regular season now are back to being just 2 games below 500, 59 and 61 run differential plus 24. The Reds now are 56 and 61 run differential of minus 74. Good to have you with us. We, via this podcast, offer shout-outs, messages that you write and we read, $25 each. Think of a shout-out like a message on the scoreboard at Nationals Park. Email us for more info, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. So, Mark, the Nats offense in this series gets back on track to the tune of 20 runs over 3 games. But the Nats pitching in this series, a mere 6 runs allowed over the 3 games. This ended up being one of the Nats' best pitch series of the season, and ultimately we get the Nats' first sweep of a series of at least 3 games since that 3-game sweep at the Milwaukee Brewers all the way back on April 10th through the 12th. But there was a lot to like from the Nats in this series.
Don't look now, Al, but the Nats bullpen is pitching well, and not just for a day or two. This has actually gone on for a little while. Even at times during that losing streak, it wasn't really the bullpen's fault most of the time. It's a very new-look group. There are a bunch of different arms out there, a bunch of different arm angles now that they're throwing at opposing teams. The starters have done their job as well, and some new contributors to the lineup. I don't know if this was just a good weekend against a struggling Reds team or a sign of anything to come, but for all the losses they took personnel-wise from the lineup, they have picked that up no problem here over the weekend, and the pitching all of a sudden looks a whole lot better. Long way to go. There's still 2 games under 500, but at the end of this weekend, you should feel a lot more encouraged than you were leading into this series.
So one of the things we noted about what the Nats did in the lead up to the 2026 MLB trade deadline on August 3rd was that the team did not trade for any obvious significant relief pitching help. But I was always careful to frame it that way because we don't know necessarily what the Nats got in terms of relief pitching. Remember, the Nats got 9 pitchers over the 4 trades that the team made in the lead up to the deadline. Well, you look at what we have seen from 3 newly acquired relievers at the major league level so far, Yovani Cruz, Will Dion, and now Jake Bird. And, to varying degrees, each guy has been impressive. And we saw 2 of these guys on display in this game on Sunday afternoon. What was a bullpen game, 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 9 innings with 9 strikeouts versus no walks. I mean, you could not have scripted this any better if you were Nats manager Blake Butera. Brad Lord started the game. He allowed 1 run in 2 2/3 innings, 4 strikeouts, no walks. Will Dion, in his second appearance for the Nats, 3 scoreless innings. Dion looked terrific. He threw 41 pitches, 30 strikes versus just 11 balls. The Nats got Dion in the trade of starting pitcher Foster Griffin to the Cleveland Guardians. Trevor Williams continued his renaissance, 2 1/3 scoreless innings, 2 strikeouts. And then Jake Bird, in his Nats debut, a perfect top of the ninth with 2 strikeouts. The Nats on Sunday morning announced having recalled Bird from AAA Rochester. They got him in the trade of first baseman Luis Garcia Jr. to the New York Yankees. But how about the bullpen game? You never know with these bullpen games what you're going to get. At times, though, you do get like excellence, and the Nats in this game got excellence. I mean, go through any great game from Cade Cavalli or Foster Griffin this season and show me a line better than this. 1 run, 9 innings, 9 strikeouts, no walks.
That's fair. Fair enough. And you mentioned that like Blake Butera could not have scripted this any better. Well, we know they like to script a lot of things. And my guess is this probably was at least a fantasy script for them. And it came true pretty remarkably for them. So I think the things to note here, as you mentioned, that they didn't go out and get established big league relievers at the trade deadline. They did go out and get relievers, and some of them are already big league ready. And I think the key there was they were hoping they might help this year, but really these are all players who are going to be under team control for several more years beyond this. And so what we saw so far from Giovanni Cruz, obviously, from Will Dion in this game, Jake Bird, to a little lesser extent, it was 1 inning at the end of what turned into a blowout. And he is 30 years old and has been around, so maybe a little bit different kind of acquisition. But what we have seen from those other two and what there still may be coming from some guys in the minors suggests that they were looking for quality arms who were either big league ready or close to big league ready, who they felt like could bolster that group right now, but more importantly, help in the long run. And so far, a very limited sample, there is some stuff to get excited about. And I think what they did here is pick up guys who they don't all look the same. They went through that stretch this summer where they were adding left-handers and every single one of them looked the same. Throw from a low arm slot, probably not a lot of velocity, a lot of breaking balls. And eventually it's like, that's just not going to work. But what they've done here, you see different types of pitchers. Cruz, flamethrower in the over 100, as we discussed. Dion, a little bit of a different look from the left side, but not somebody who's just coming in to face lefties. I think the most impressive thing he did in this game, he faced 10 batters and got 9 of them out. And he was facing a bunch of right-handed hitters. The Reds are very right-handed heavy. And it caught me off guard because I thought he was coming in maybe just to face a few hitters. And instead, he goes 3 innings. So maybe this is somebody who can be used as more than just a lefty matchup kind of pitcher. So I'm curious to see as this all plays out, if it makes a difference that you're now going to relievers who don't all throw the same way, whether that's the hand you're throwing from, the angle you're throwing from, the kind of stuff that you possess. A lot of really good bullpens in the modern day are successful because they're constantly giving you a different look. And so you can't get too comfortable facing one type of pitcher. And I wonder if there was a little bit of design to that from the national standpoint.
There has been so much change with this Nats bullpen as the season has gone on. The Nats' initial 26-man roster for the 2026 regular season featured these relief pitchers: Brad Lord, Cole Henry, Clayton Beeter, PJ Poulin, Andre Granillo, Cionel Perez, Gus Varland, and Ken Waldachuk. Lord and Beeter are the only 2 men left standing. Isn't that something? That you go back to opening day and you go through all the relievers on the 26-man and only 2 guys are left on the team. And that's where we're at. I mean, that's the season that we have seen here with this bullpen. And so many different arms have been used. So many different arms have, shall we say, struggled. But maybe, just maybe now, the Nats have come up with a concoction from which the Nats can get some sustained success in terms of relief pitching. Now, I mentioned Trevor Williams, and I know that he's had a decent number of low-leverage outings. I would not categorize what he did on Sunday afternoon as low leverage. Trevor Williams, since coming off the 60-day injured list, 5 games, 8 1/3 scoreless innings, 11 strikeouts, 2 walks, with the obvious caveat of small sample size. He's looked good. He's doing a really nice job since coming back from the 60-day IL.
100%. And I know he doesn't fit into that description of the new guys who are going to be here for a long time, but it is a new guy, at least compared to what they've had here. And you can't argue with the results so far. He's throwing harder than I expected to. He's hitting 91 with his fastball. He's kept the ball in the yard and really hasn't given up a lot of loud contact at all, which was always the concern with him. And I wonder if perhaps, you remember he had that brief stretch early in the season a couple years ago after the terrible year, and then he pitched well for about 10 starts, and then he got hurt, and that kind of set everything in motion that's happened since. I wonder if now that he's finally healthy, he's able to throw the way that he wanted to all along and is sort of picking up to be more of the pitcher that we saw back then as opposed to the guy we saw, say, last year. It's limited. You don't want to get too worked up about it, but we always thought to ourselves he might be better in a bullpen role than as a starter anyways. He's got nothing to lose at this point in the final year of his contract with just a couple months to go. He might just be letting it loose and seeing what happens. Good for him. I don't know how it's all going to shake out, but it's been a very pleasant development, and it's yet another new arm that we haven't seen here in a while, helping give this bullpen a different look. And so far, knock on wood, it's working out.
Yeah, Trevor Williams, this is his fourth season with the Nats. Really bad in 2023 and 2025, but actually quite good in 2024, albeit in an injury-shortened season. Al Galdi here to tell you about Window Nation. But before that, the Window Nation look into the future.
A 2-1. Fly ball center field. Kennedy Corona tracking back all the way to the warning track wall, and it's gone. Solo blast for Seaver King. And Rochester gets back the run that they gave up in the home half of the seventh inning. Seventh home run in AAA.
Hey, Al Galdi here for Window Nation. If you're using chat to research your next home improvement project, forget the prompts. We've got all the details on a company that you can trust. For replacement windows and doors without the hassle, just look up Window Nation. Window Nation is the real deal. Homeowners across the country love the one-day installation process, especially since Window Nation installers leave your home cleaner than when they started. And this month, you can get 50% off all window styles, plus 0 down, 0 interest, and no payments for 2 years. That's a lot of savings on top of quality windows and doors. 866-90NATION or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. Window Nation, the real deal when it comes to replacement windows and doors. 866-90NATION, windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
Abrams the lead at third. The 2-2 delivery. Swing a ground ball toward the middle. It's through. It's a base hit. Dalen Lyle delivers again against the Reds. Abrams scores the big insurance run. It's 4-1. Dalen Lyle, 12 RBIs this season in 6 games against Cincinnati. Terry Francona says, I don't want to see that guy anymore.
The Nats offense, good stuff throughout this series, especially good stuff in the 7-1 win over the Reds on Sunday afternoon. 7 runs, 13 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 11 singles, 2 walks, 4 for 11 with runners in scoring position. And, we on the last installment of the podcast hit on this idea of the Nats trying to replace Luis Garcia Jr., shall we say, in the aggregate, as was said in the great movie Moneyball. But Abimelec Ortiz and Andres Chaparro, right? Essentially tag teaming to replace Luis Garcia Jr. Well, in this game, Abimelec Ortiz was the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter, 2 for 3 with a solo homer and a single. Ortiz and the Nats 1-run third, leadoff full count homer to left field to put the Nats up 3-1 despite having been down in the count at 1.12. And Andres Chaparro, more production from him. He came into the game to pinch hit and play first base, 1 for 2 with a 2-run double. It feels like all this guy does is mash doubles. Chaparro in the Nats 3-run eighth, a 2-out opposite field, 2-run double to the right center field gap on a 1-2 pitch to put the Nats up 7-1. So Andres Chaparro now, over 115 Major League plate appearances this regular season, OPS of 848. And Abimelec Ortiz now, he for the Nats at the Major League level in this regular season, 23 plate appearances, OPS of 895. Ortiz so far has looked good at the Major League level. Chaparro has been on a tear for weeks, but this duo, this tandem, Chaparro, Ortiz, and Chaparro, so far so good in replacing Luis Garcia Jr.
Combined 8 RBIs over about a 20-hour stretch between Saturday night and Sunday afternoon. Couldn't ask for more than that. Now, Ortiz, yes, it's been almost entirely against righties. I think he's only taken 2 plate appearances against lefties. You understand that. But that was some really nice approach in this game against Brady Singer of the Reds. Gets a pitch on the outer edge of the plate and just drives it the other way. And you saw some opposite field power from him, which is very nice to see. And in Chaparro's case, remember, it wasn't that long ago that people were cringing every time Blake Butera would send him up to pinch hit for Luis Garcia. And I feel like since the game at Fenway Park, when he hit a home run, it's like everything was released from that, and he's been free now to go be the guy that, he's always wanted to be. And what he's done is not just hit lefties, he's actually starting to hit righties as well. His numbers against righties are among the best on the team. Again, small sample, because he doesn't get that many opportunities to face them, but he's actually been really good. And in this game, he comes up to pinch hit for Ortiz in the 7th to face the lefty. He strikes out in that at bat, but he stayed in the game and now got to face the right-hander in the 8th, and that was the 2-run single you were just talking about. If he can keep doing that, he's going to get more opportunities, and you may see a scenario in which they can put one of these guys at first base and one of them in the DH slot. Right now, that's probably a better offensive alignment for them than using some of these other guys based strictly on the platoon matchup. So big job by Chaparro to step up, not just against lefties, but also showing some production against righties.
I think what got Chaparro going was when Wilson Contreras threw his batting helmet intended for Cade Cavalli, and instead the helmet hit Chaparro. I think that unlocked something in Andres Chaparro, because since that point, I feel like Chaparro has been on a roll. By the way, I don't know if we ever acknowledged this or not. So that famous game, we had the incident. Boston's starting pitcher for that game was Connolly Early. I can't remember if we highlighted that or not, but Early was the Red Sox's starting pitcher, and he left the game due to left elbow discomfort. And that's obviously what he's dealing with these days in being on the 15-day injured list with left elbow inflammation and now this forearm tightness. So funny how things play out.
So maybe we haven't discussed it on the podcast. I've certainly brought it up with some other reporters along the way because I very distinctly remember him leaving the game and wondering, well, what happened? Well, everything fell apart after that, and there was way more important storylines. But I remember asking one of the Boston writers at the end of that night, hey, whatever happened with Early? And they said, oh, it's his elbow, and they're worried it might be bad. And so that was my last impression of him prior to the trade happening. And when they made the trade, I thought to myself, wait, I thought that guy had a serious elbow injury. And then all the reports we got were, no, he's fine. It's ready to throw, going to go on a rehab assignment. And now we're kind of waiting and seeing on that. So still to be determined. But yeah, of all the things that happened that night, Connolly Early, we didn't know at the time was going to be very important. The other thing is, since that series, the Red Sox are far and away the best team in baseball. The Nats took 2 out of 3 from them. They've barely lost to anybody since then. Who knew how important that series would be in so many ways?
Yeah, it is funny to look back on what happened there. But never forget the batting helmet toss from Wilson Contreras aimed at Cade Cavalli. Instead, struck Andres Chaparro. And Chaparro, these days, one of the Nats' best batters. Keibert Ruiz, he on Sunday afternoon got on base 4 times. He is the Nats starting catcher and number 8 batter, 3 for 3 with an RBI single, 2 other singles, and an intentional walk. And Dalen Lyle capped a very nice series for him. He was the Nats starting left fielder and number 4 batter, 2 for 4. RBI single and another single. Dalen Lyle was impactful in each game in this series. So good to see that. And we see in this series, the Nats, all right, no more Curtis Mead, no more Luis Garcia Jr., James Wood on the 10-day injured list, but still able to have a very nice offensive series. Production from a lot of different guys, some key hits. We did not see the Nats struggle with runners in scoring position, as had been the case in previous recent series. And you say to yourself, okay, this is a realistic formula for this offense to continue to be good here over the course of the rest of the season.
The difference here is that the bottom half of the lineup has been productive for several days now in a way that they really weren't during that whole losing streak. You had Keibert Ruiz with 3 hits and an intentional walk in this game, batting 8th. You had Jacob Young driving in a couple of runners. You even had Jorbit Bibas with a hit. I think he had 2 hits in the game and scored a couple runs from a guy that, as we know, when the lineup came out, plenty of fans out there were asking, why in the world is he back in there? So you're getting all that. You know who hasn't really been hot here lately is C.J. Abrams, and they still scored runs. And he's the one remaining big-time bat after the trades and after the James Wood injury. So the fact they could score runs without C.J. Abrams playing a big role in it, I think is very encouraging as we move forward. The real question is going to be how much of what we just saw this weekend was a product of them facing the Reds, who are not very good, especially from a pitching standpoint, and how much was perhaps sustainable as they move forward. I'll be very interested to see how they do now against the Cubs, who are, certainly a much better team, a more imposing opponent for them to face coming up in the next few days.
Yeah, the Cubs are one of the legitimately very good teams in the National League. There are not many teams that you can label as being very good this season. The Cubs definitely are one of those teams.
Runners lead first and third, the pitch. Swing and a line drive left center field. That's going to drop in for a base hit. Dylan Cruz comes home with a tying run. Bibas heads for third. The throw coming in to second base for the center fielder, Dane Myers. Keibert Ruiz, a 6-game inning streak and his 39th run batted in, ties this game here in the bottom of the second inning. It's the Nationals 1 and the Reds 1.
And so it is done. The Nats stretch of 17 consecutive days with no off days, 17 games in 17 days. This installment of the podcast is for Monday, August 10th. It is the day on which the Nats have their first off day since July 23rd. Think about everything that has happened with the Nats since July 23rd. The trades, James Wood going on the 10-day injured list. We have seen the Nats from a standing standpoint be essentially transformed. I mean, the Nats entered the day of July 23rd, 52-51. Did then win 2 out of 3 games against the Arizona Diamondbacks at Nationals Park to kick off this stretch, but then came a whole lot of losing until this 3-game sweep of the Reds. So I'm sure the Nats have been targeting this off day of Monday, and now the Nats are going to have actually a decent number of off days over the course of the rest of the season. But it's funny, the Nats over these 17 games end up going just 7-10. That's not good. Nobody would have signed up for that. But that record was at 4-10 prior to this sweep. I mean, this sweep, if you're going to go 7-10, at least do it like this, where you exit the stretch with a 3-game sweep and you can feel a little bit better about yourself. 4-10, you didn't know what to think that record for the 17 games could end up being going into this series. The Nats end up doing a really good job of getting themselves right to at least some extent with what they did in this series.
So I think one of the storylines of this season had been how consistent they were. They didn't go on long winning streaks. They didn't go on long losing streaks. They essentially spent 4 months somewhere between 2 games under 500 and 2 or 3 games over 500. And there was a consistency there that was helpful, but you also said, well, why can't they go on a run? They had that one sweep in Milwaukee, none since then, not even that many opportunities to sweep again. Well, what you just had now in the stretch is their first really long losing streak of 7 games, and that buried them and created all the other things that happened around the trade deadline. But when you win 3 in a row and take a full series like that for the first time in so long, you pick up a lot of ground very quickly, and it makes up, not entirely, but it does make up for that long losing streak. So let's see where they go from here. This has not necessarily been a streaky team this year. It's been more win 1, lose 1, win 2, lose 2. The last few weeks have been very streaky. Is that telling us what may be coming, or are they about to get back into that just kind of win 1, lose 1, maintain that 500 record kind of run? If they're going to get back in the race, they're obviously going to have to go on a hot streak of more than just 3 games. But even if they don't, I think a lot of people will be plenty pleased with them just playing 500 or close to it the rest of the way, which is essentially what they were for 4 months before the big losing streak.
Yeah, I mean, we, on the last installment of the show, outlined what it would take for the Nats to get just to 85 wins. It would take quite a run here. So, this is a tall task. The Nats truly trying to get one of these 3 wildcard spots. But, from a standing standpoint, the Nats are not out of it. So, off day on Monday. Next up, 3-game series against the Cubs at Nationals Park. The Nats have not yet listed their probable starting pitchers for the series. Game 1, Tuesday evening, 6:45. Game 2, Wednesday evening, 6:45. Game 3, Thursday afternoon at 4:05. And a lot to sort through here, right? Starting pitcher Zach Littell has been designated for assignment, now is gone from the organization. We have wondered about what could be coming for starting pitcher Miles Mikolas, although nothing yet and maybe nothing anytime soon. But a lot to figure out. The bullpen game approach worked on Sunday afternoon, but probably not something the Nats are planning on doing with frequency, I would think.
I wouldn't think so, that is a little dangerous, and and it has a domino effect on future games. And they were able to do it in this case because they knew they had Monday off. We will see. I'm going to guess that they will be calling up one of those two AAA starters, either Luis Perales or Jackson Kent, for some game this week, probably against the Cubs. In theory, they could get by because of the off day. They don't have to have a fifth starter until next Saturday in New York. Maybe they push that back, but you don't want to fiddle around with guys' pitching schedules too much. They both would line up to pitch middle of the week based on their last AAA starts. So I'm going to guess we probably see one of them at some point in the Cubs series. But even if you do that, that's still only 4 starting pitchers, and Mikolas is still one of your 5. So unless they're ready to cut ties there and now call up 2 young guys, I don't think that's going to happen yet. Andrew Alvarez is already now a part of the rotation as well. So there are changes coming, but I think this may be more piecemeal than like wholesale changes all happening at once.
You tell us what you think. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email us, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. And we have a website you could check out too, natschatpodcast.com, in which you can purchase a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
Jake Bird, his Nationals debut, puts the finishing touches on it. A curly W and a sweep in the books, and the Nationals on the field to celebrate. Final score here this afternoon, the Washington Nationals 7, the Cincinnati Reds 1.